At 07:42 a.m., 14th September 2019, the registration desk at the Twin Lakes Trailhead Visitor Center, Mono County, California, recorded one routine trail permit: solo, day use, photographic survey. The signature, L. Connolly, matched the driver's license of Lauren Connolly, 28, from Sacramento. Surveillance shows her folding a trail map, adjusting the shoulder strap of her pack, purchasing a single bottle of isobutane fuel at the counter. Timestamp 07:46:19. Morning light reflected off the polished counter. The air still held that high-altitude chill that makes everything feel certain. The ranger later described her as quiet but prepared. Wind chimes outside the visitor center clicked against the glass as she stepped into full sun. No alarm, no sign of haste. Her last recorded action was the simple turn of a pen, inking coordinates that would, within 48 hours, become an evidence reference number. By 08:05 that morning, Connolly's Canon EOS R mirrorless camera recorded its first geotagged image from the Twin Lakes overlook, elevation 7,215 feet. Metadata would later confirm exposure settings and GPS accuracy, one level below professional survey standards. Light wind, 50 degrees, visibility 10 miles. The sound on adjacent trail cameras, woodpecker taps, distant water movement, would later be used to confirm timestamp alignment. She had begun this trip 2 days into a long-planned sabbatical from her marketing work, a break documented in personal emails. In one message 3 nights prior, she wrote, "Just want to photograph absence. The empty parts feel the most real." Investigators would mark that line for psychological evaluation, though colleagues described her as disciplined and methodical. A ranger observing hikers that weekend noted no distress, only the quiet rhythm of ordinary recreation, boots tightening, gloves adjusting, camera wrist strap clicks. At 09:17, Connolly was recorded signing the wilderness checkpoint at base mile 1.2, marking her intended route toward the Horseshoe Canyon Loop. Her handwriting, slightly tilted, would become a reference feature in later forensic comparisons. Gate log page 42B, signature verified, 09:17, clear weather. Trail log record, Mono County SAR. By early afternoon, sunlight had flattened against granite slopes. Other hikers from Nevada City, interviewed later, recalled briefly passing a woman fitting her description near Marker 5, descending toward a shaded gulch around 12:30 p.m. One witness, Ashley Rudd, stated she paused to look back, like checking alignment with the trail posts. Connolly resumed walking east. A hiking log is never designed to predict absence, yet every name becomes a coordinate awaiting follow-up. In SAR File 19C231, that same log sheet would later appear under Evidence, Found Items, Recovered Dry. The previous evening, 13th of September, Connolly checked into a short-term cabin outside Bridgeport. Credit records show a single night charge to her, Visa ending 4102, timestamp 192643. Motel receipt indicates she requested an early checkout and map print, Twin Lakes entry, weekend permit. A security photograph at 07:03 the next morning, her silver Subaru Outback, parked facing trail direction. Investigators later noted the clean interior, sealed bag of trail food, unopened hydration bladder, suggesting she started hydrated, methodical, consistent with experienced solo hikers. Inside her glove compartment, a folded Leave No Trace pamphlet, GPS coordinates hand-marked in pen. Search analysts later reconstructed her intended loop, 12.7 miles, moderate difficulty, stable cell coverage for the first 2.5 miles only. Past Marker 5, network coverage ceases due to granite interference. At 10:10 a.m., a trail cam caught her adjusting tripod legs near Alpine Canyon Ridge, quartered shadows across her jacket. For investigators, that still image would form a paradox, the visible certainty of presence turned future index of loss. A forensic specialist later noted the white blur of her topo map clutched beneath her arm, corner, folded in an irregular diagonal, not reproduced in her copies at home. That fold would matter months later when handwriting texture and soil adhesion were analyzed. Radio transcript Mono County Dispatch, 09-1719, 08:56 a.m. Copy update trail permit Connolly. Confirm she returned Sunday checkout? Negative. Vehicle still on site. What appears as preparation becomes evidence once context reverses. By Sunday evening, the same Subaru would appear in search log 1A under the code word static asset. The first indication of anomaly was procedural, not emotional. On 15 September at 2014 hours, a visitor center ranger initiated a welfare check after noticing the same silver Subaru unmoved. The tire tracks beneath it remained sharp. No overnight precipitation. Protocol dictated a 12-hour observation period, after which a Type 1 missing person SAR activation became authorized. At 05:42 a.m., 16th in September, Search Team Alpha deployed, 8 personnel, 2 K9 units, and an aerial drone with thermal capability. Ambient temperature, 38 degrees. Wind, negligible. Log excerpt indicates first sweep along Horseshoe Canyon Loop. Standard formation spacing 30 meters. Tracks light. Possible single female tread size est. 7.5, moving east. At 08:52, K9 alert at Dry Creek bed, later classified as false positive due to residual wildlife scent. Parallel to the field operations, investigators retrieved electronic data. Last phone signal at 379995 N, 119,336 W, timestamp 14th, September 12, 3911. Service lost after that point. Her closest known contact, an older sibling named Marissa Connolly, received no reply to messages sent that afternoon. Stay safe. Send me a photo when you set up camera, one message read. It was marked as delivered, not read. Media would later misreport this as the moment of disappearance. In reality, at that hour, nothing yet qualified as missing, only unverified. Movement within acceptable wilderness variance. But the pattern began forming, the minute tether between signal data and visible trail presence breaking in silence. In wilderness disappearances, the first missing signal is less about loss than the start of procedure. SAR file notation. Last transmission 12/39/11, subsequent void. By 17th September, the search had expanded to a 5-mile radial grid around the last known coordinates. Helicopter Sierra 2-1 completed its first thermal sweep at 13:04:21. Camera feed showed only motionless topography, no heat anomalies. Negative signature over grid D5. Redo pass north, drift 0.2. Weather remained stable, yet sound on bodycam audio shows faint background echo, rotor turbulence against stone ridges, creating a low, unresolved note. Special Agent Christopher D. Halverson, liaison between Mono County Sheriff and FBI Missing Persons, arrived that evening. Express Authorization File C019947 issued formal co-jurisdiction due to potential criminal elements. Standard for any unsolved wilderness disappearance beyond 48 hours without trace. Evidence from Connolly's vehicle documented by forensic technicians. Folded topo map with the corner tier. Fuel canister missing from equipment list confirming field use. Camera case without memory card. A soil sample containing diatom presence inconsistent with Twin Lakes sediment, later matched to Horseshoe Canyon lower basin. Each item individually mundane, collectively formed a timeline whose precision implied both control and rupture. Halverson's field note read, "If she was disoriented, we'd expect random dispersion. What we have here suggests trajectory, then termination." Meanwhile, family liaison logs record Marissa Connolly requesting any photo, just prove she was still moving. The investigator could provide only time codes. 18th September 07:33, second day search. Ground visibility reduced by smoke drift from distant forest burn, further degrading infrared accuracy. Rescue reports note fatigue, minor sprains, and ambient silence except for distant aircraft. One detail drew procedural interest. Searchers located trail marker 5 partially uprooted, lying downhill 6 meters from its base. Traces of pressure soil compression suggested human contact between late Saturday and early Sunday. Forensic technicians flagged the artifact as Item 5B, initial contact possible. In open terrain, a single displaced marker can carry more narrative than 1,000 search logs. It tells where certainty lost alignment. Report marginalia, faint pencil line later circled in red. Marker 5. First break in geometry. By 19th of September, day 4 of the search, the operational pattern had shifted from immediate rescue to methodical grid examination. Sierra County SAR joined the effort, bringing the search team to 32 personnel and 4 K9 units. Ambient sounds on recovered body cam footage, radio static, the metallic click of equipment, the hushed tones of searchers trading sectors. At 11:23 a.m., a K9 handler named Marcus Weiland recorded unusual behavior from his search dog, Aspen, a 4-year-old Dutch Shepherd certified in human remains detection. According to Weiland's log entry, dog behavior change at grid K7, circling but no full alert. Heavy disturbance in soil composition approximately 30 yards off trail. Mono County SAR statistics recorded in their annual report reveal a grim pattern. In wilderness areas, only 17% of subjects missing beyond 72 hours are recovered alive. After 96 hours, that number drops to 8.3%. Weather had remained stable. Clear skies, temperature range 37-63 degrees, allowing optimal search conditions. The search coordinator, Lieutenant Andrea Vasquez, described the containment boundaries in a situation briefing. We've established primary perimeters at Barney Lake to the north, Crater Crest to the east, Robinson Creek to the south, Twin Lakes to the west. Secondary boundaries extend 2 miles beyond in all directions. Field samples from Grid K7 were collected and transported back to the incident command post. Soil analysis showed inconsistent compression patterns, what the report describes as non-animal disturbance with directional drag indicators. Late afternoon, a fixed-wing aircraft completed high-resolution photography of the entire search zone. Data processing began immediately, with computer algorithms scanning for color anomalies against the natural terrain palette. The family maintained vigil at the ranger station. Marissa Connolly later recalled in her victim impact statement, "They kept using the word subject. I had to remind them her name was Lauren. She had a voice before she became a grid coordinate." That evening, Special Agent Halverson requested toxicology screening on water samples collected from Lauren's half-empty hydration pack found near her vehicle. Results were prioritized through the FBI laboratory in Quantico. "We're seeing a pattern divergence," Halverson noted in his evening report. "The physical evidence suggests a controlled departure from the expected route, not consistent with standard lost hiker behaviors." As darkness fell across the granite slopes, search teams established base camp at Crater Meadow. Thermal imaging continued through night operations, the low hum of generators masking the natural sounds of the wilderness. At 23:17, a search team recovered a single hiking pole matching the brand and model purchased by Lauren Connolly 2 weeks earlier. It was found 2.7 miles from her last confirmed position, well off her planned route, angling toward a remote drainage basin. The pole showed no signs of being used as a defense weapon, no blood evidence, no fingerprints besides Connolly's own. SAR statistics show that 68% of solo hikers who become disoriented move downhill following drainage patterns. The pole's location contradicted this tendency. It was found on a slight uphill gradient. In the documentation of wilderness disappearances, each item recovered narrates not just presence, but intention. Search log entry 2342. Item recovered does not appear abandoned, appears placed. Dawn of 20th of September brought low cloud cover and reduced visibility. The generators at base camp pulsed beneath the sound of radio check-ins. Morning briefing packets rustled in the hands of search team leaders. Thermal readings from overnight operations had produced no significant heat signatures. At 0817, FBI Evidence Response Team member Teresa Montoya processed the hiking pole using alternative light sources, revealing a partial thumbprint on the adjustable section that was not Connolly's. The print was uploaded to the FBI's Integrated Automated Fingerprint Identification System, IAFIS, with priority status. Search teams rotated through 12-hour shifts, their yellow jackets visible against the gray granite as they moved through predetermined grid patterns. Drone buzzing provided a constant ambient soundtrack as the aerial search continued despite deteriorating visibility. According to National Park Service statistics, nearly 1,600 people remain missing in wilderness areas across the United States. Of those, approximately 29% show evidence of potential criminal involvement, vastly higher than public perception of wilderness danger. At 11:05, K9 handler Wayland reported that Aspen had detected a human scent profile at the convergence of two seasonal streams, approximately 3.2 miles from trail marker 5. The area contained multiple footprints, later determined to include at least two distinct tread patterns, one matching Lauren's hiking boots, another unidentified. The search coordinator redirected resources to establish a new command post closer to this location. Radio transcript captured the shift. Alpha Team respond to grid P11, establish secondary ICP. Echo Team continue northwest sweep, maintain 20-meter spacing. Copy that. Moving to P11, ETA 14 minutes. Thermal imaging data from the previous day was reanalyzed using enhanced processing algorithms. A faint heat signature, initially dismissed as residual wildlife activity, now appeared as a potential campfire remnant. The coordinates placed it 2.9 miles from the recovered hiking pole, a location requiring deliberate off-trail movement. Marissa Connolly, who had remained at the visitor center, provided investigators with additional details about her sister's outdoor habits. Lauren always uses tracking apps. She keeps backup batteries. She marks waypoints obsessively. This silence isn't her. The statement triggered a deeper review of Lauren's digital footprint. Her cloud storage contained detailed hiking logs for previous trips, revealing a methodical approach to wilderness travel. Trail plans filed electronically, GPS coordinates shared with contacts, regular check-ins. Special Agent Halverson noted in his field report, subjects' established patterns suggest high safety awareness. Deviation requires either extreme disorientation or external intervention. Late afternoon, the search grid was expanded to include a series of remote rock formations, known locally as the Granite Sentinels. The terrain became increasingly technical, requiring specialized climbing teams. At 16:42, a search team member recovered a memory card in a protective case, partially buried beneath a cairn at the base of one formation. Digital forensics would later confirm it belonged to Lauren's camera. The wilderness had begun to yield fragments of presence, but each discovery raised more questions than answers. In search operations, the most significant finding is often not what appears, but what does not. The absence that defines the shape of what happened. Case note, FBI evidence log. Memory card recovery suggests deliberate placement. Missing link number 3. As 20 September dawned, the operational tempo accelerated. The recovered memory card had been transported via helicopter to the FBI's Digital Evidence Laboratory in Sacramento. Wind whipped across base camp, flapping tent canvas and causing maps to rustle against clipboards. At 07:13, preliminary analysis of the memory card revealed 47 photographs taken by Lauren Connolly during her hike. The final image, time-stamped 14th of September at 14:22:36, showed an unusual rock formation casting diagonal shadows. Metadata remained intact, providing precise GPS coordinates: 37.99891N, 119.3301W. The photograph itself revealed nothing overtly suspicious, just granite formations against clear sky. However, FBI image analyst Dr. Fareed Nazari identified a critical detail. Background elements show a reflection consistent with observation. someone watching from approximately 20 meters distance. By mid-morning, a specialized search team deployed to these exact coordinates. The granite amplified their footsteps, creating rhythmic echoes that carried across the canyon. Wind direction had shifted, affecting K9 operations and forcing handlers to adjust their patterns. According to search coordination logs, 84% of the viable search area had been covered using standard protocols, an unusually comprehensive coverage rate for day 7 of a wilderness operation. At 11:44, the specialized team reached the photograph location. Team leader Gabriel Ortiz documented the scene via body camera. Terrain matches the image exactly. Multiple boot prints visible in soil deposits. Area shows signs of prolonged presence. Compressed vegetation consistent with someone remaining stationary for extended period. Soil samples revealed traces of a commercial insect repellent not matching the brand found in Lauren's backpack. While the ground team examined the photograph location, digital forensics completed deeper analysis of the memory card. The results proved unsettling. 3 images had been deleted from the sequence, but were recoverable through specialized software. These deleted photographs showed the same rock formation from slightly different angles. In the third recovered image, barely visible at the edge of the frame, a human figure partially concealed behind a boulder. The FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit was consulted remotely. Their preliminary assessment delivered via encrypted communication at 14:37. Pattern suggests surveillance behavior. Subject likely photographed the observer without their knowledge. Deletion indicates either awareness of being observed or subsequent access to the camera by another party. Marissa Connolly, now joined by their parents Thomas and Catherine, maintained vigil at the expanded Family Assistance Center established near base operations. Catherine Connolly provided search personnel with additional information. Lauren was meticulous about documentation. She wouldn't delete photographs. She'd sort them later at home. The family supplied recent photographs to assist in the search. One image showed Lauren at a family gathering 3 weeks earlier, smiling beside her sister. The photograph was duplicated and distributed to all search teams. By late afternoon, the operational classification formally shifted from SAR, Search and Rescue, to SARM, Search and Recovery with Possible Malice, under FBI protocols. This triggered additional resources, including the deployment of rapid DNA sampling equipment to the base camp. The air temperature dropped as evening approached. Searchers reported hearing distant rockfall as thermal contractions affected the granite landscape. Low clouds moved across the ridgeline, reducing visibility and creating diffuse, directionless light. At 18:29, K9 handler Marcus Wayland recorded in his log, Aspen showed strong alert behavior at a depression approximately 200 meters from the photo location. Area shows significant ground disturbance. Multiple persons traversed this location within past 10 days. The depression contained no human remains but yielded a critical piece of evidence, a prescription medication container with Lauren Connolly's name clearly visible on the pharmacy label. The container held 3 remaining doses of her allergy medication. In the clinical precision of evidence recovery, the most significant details are often the most mundane, a medication that should have traveled with its owner. Inventory note, Evidence Log 19 C23147. Medication container placed upright, cap secured, not consistent with accidental loss. The morning of 22nd of September arrived with clear skies and improved visibility. At base camp, generators hummed beneath the sound of helicopter rotors, warming up for the day's aerial operations. Maps spread across folding tables showed newly marked sectors, densely hatched areas indicating completed searches, open sections representing remaining terrain. By day 8, statistical probabilities had shifted decisively. The National Association for Search and Rescue database shows that only 3% of wilderness subjects missing beyond 168 hours are recovered alive without access to water sources. Yet the operational directive remained search for live subject due to the concerning evidence patterns. At 8:08:11, The FBI Evidence Response Team completed analysis of soil samples collected from the depression where Lauren's medication was found. Laboratory results identified trace elements of common synthetic fibers consistent with camping equipment, specifically the type of waterproof nylon used in higher-end backpacking tents. Special Agent Halverson briefed the expanded search team. "We're looking at a situation where our subject may have encountered someone else on or near the trail. The evidence suggests a controlled scenario, rather than a random wilderness accident." Lieutenant Vasquez coordinated with the California Department of Justice to run background checks on all registered hikers who had signed in at Twin Lakes Trailhead between September 10th 15. The registry contained 67 signatures, including 3 solo male hikers who had indicated multi-day itineraries. By mid-morning, the specialized search dogs had established a scent corridor extending from the medication site toward a remote drainage basin approximately 1 mile east. The terrain grew increasingly technical, loose scree slopes giving way to exposed granite faces. The sound of radio communications echoed against stone walls as teams maintained contact. At 11:23, Marissa Connolly received permission to address the search teams directly during their midday rotation. Body camera footage captured her statement. "My sister knows wilderness navigation. She completed wilderness first aid certification. Whatever happened wasn't because she was unprepared or careless." The statement prompted renewed focus on the possibility of intentional intervention rather than accident or disorientation. Around noon, a search team member named Tyler Wilson, descending a steep section of loose rock, dislodged a small boulder. The resulting minor rock slide exposed a narrow crevice between 2 granite formations. Wilson's body camera recorded the moment, shale sliding away, dust rising in the clear air, the dark opening suddenly visible. "Possible void space," Wilson reported via radio. "Natural formation, approximately 2 feet wide at entrance. Depth unknown." Protocol required immediate notification of the technical team, who arrived at 1314 equipped with confined space entry gear. Team leader Jessica Ramirez documented the assessment. Natural granite crevice extends approximately 12 feet horizontally before narrowing. Evidence of recent human presence, compression in soil at entrance, scattered granola bar wrapper consistent with brand in subject's vehicle. National Park Service records indicate that 27% of wilderness disappearance cases involve natural formations, caves, crevices, or narrow ravines that can conceal a subject from aerial and ground searches. However, most subjects who seek shelter leave clear ingress patterns. At 1437, the technical team completed their initial examination of the crevice. Inside, they discovered a torn piece of fabric matching the color and material of the shirt Lauren Connolly was last seen wearing. The fabric showed evidence of forceful tearing rather than natural decomposition. FBI evidence technician Sharon Miller processed the fabric on site, documenting, "Fabric edge shows clean tear pattern inconsistent with environmental damage. Possible intentional removal." As afternoon light began to fade from the granite faces, search operations consolidated around the crevice location. The ambient sound of helicopter operations continued in the distance, providing a constant mechanical counterpoint to the natural silence of the wilderness. By evening, the team had expanded the search radius around the crevice to 300 meters, employing ground-penetrating radar in areas where soil depth permitted. In wilderness investigations, technical terrain doesn't just hide evidence, it transforms it, revealing what human movement intended to conceal. SAR log entry, 1942. GPR anomaly detected 87 meters east of crevice entrance. Excavation scheduled for first light. Dawn of 23rd September broke with heavy mist clinging to the granite ridges. The sound of shovels striking stone punctuated the morning stillness as the excavation team began work at the GPR anomaly site. Search personnel moved with the deliberate care of those who know what they might find. At 8:13, excavation reached 76 centimeters below grade. Team leader Gabriel Ortiz, immediately called for a halt to operations and implemented forensic protocols. His radio transmission, recorded in the operational log, confirmed human remains partial, established perimeter, 50-meter exclusion zone. The wilderness investigation instantly transformed into a crime scene. Within 40 minutes, Special Agent Halverson and the FBI Evidence Response Team had established preliminary containment. Wind ruffled the yellow crime scene tape as it was secured to granite outcroppings. The flapping sound provided an unnatural counterpoint to the silence of the scene. Initial examination confirmed the remains were not Lauren Connolly's. Forensic anthropologist Dr. Elena Vasquez conducted preliminary field analysis. Female, approximately 25-35 years, deceased approximately 4-8 months based on decomposition, indication of sharp force trauma to cervical vertebrae. According to FBI statistics, only 14% of wilderness homicides are discovered during searches for other missing persons. The statistical anomaly of this discovery would later become a key factor in case development. By noon, a separate excavation team had begun work at a second anomaly site 23 meters from the first. Mono County Sheriff Carson Delgado briefed the assembled search teams. "We are now conducting a dual-track investigation, continuing the search for Lauren Connolly while processing this crime scene." The second excavation yielded no human remains but recovered a degraded backpack containing personal effects belonging to Catherine Simmons, 32, reported missing from a solo hiking trip in the same region 6 months earlier. The case classification formally shifted to multiple victim investigation. Within hours, the FBI deployed additional evidence response teams from their Sacramento field office. The sound of helicopter landings punctuated the afternoon as specialized personnel arrived. At 14:27, digital forensics completed analysis of photographs from Lauren Connolly's recovered memory card, comparing them against trail camera footage from the visitor center. One significant match emerged: a male hiker captured in the background of both Lauren's photographs and the trail camera footage from 14 September. The man appeared in 3 separate locations over a 5-hour period, a pattern inconsistent with normal recreational hiking. Marisa Connolly, upon being informed about the discovered remains, provided a statement later entered into the investigative record. "I keep thinking about her last text message. She wrote, 'I feel like I'm being watched.' I thought she meant it poetically." By late afternoon, the operational focus had expanded dramatically. Lieutenant Vasquez coordinated with California Highway Patrol to establish vehicle checkpoints on all roads leading from the Mono Basin region. The ambient sound of radio communications grew more frequent as law enforcement resources multiplied. Special Agent Halverson's situation report, filed at 1742, contained a significant reassessment. Evidence suggests we're dealing with a predator who uses wilderness areas to isolate victims. Current evidence indicates Lauren Connolly may have encountered this subject and potentially documented them inadvertently. As darkness fell, portable lighting arrays illuminated the crime scene processing. The harsh white light created sharp shadows against the granite, transforming the natural landscape into something clinical and exposed. At 2014, the FBI Evidence Response Team recovered a partial boot print preserved in clay soil near the first excavation site. The impression matched neither Lauren Connolly's hiking boots nor standard-issue search team footwear. Casting techniques preserved the evidence as night operations continued. K9 handler Marcus Wayland noted in his log that search dog Aspen exhibited unusual stress behaviors when working the area between the crevice and the excavation sites, a reaction consistent with the presence of multiple human scent profiles in conflict. FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit provided remote consultation through secure video link. Their preliminary profile, delivered at 22:37, subject demonstrates sophisticated understanding of wilderness terrain, uses isolation to control victim movement, and returns to disposal sites. High probability of multiple victims beyond those currently identified. In the methodical documentation of wilderness crime scenes, absence forms its own evidence, the negative space where someone should have continued to exist. Case designation update 2345. Multiple victim, potential serial predation, wilderness facilitated. The morning of 24 September began with a distinctive sound pattern: helicopter rotors cutting through thin mountain air, the crunch of boots on granite, hushed voices as search teams received modified briefings. The incident command post had expanded overnight, with additional specialized FBI personnel arriving from Quantico. At 0717, the FBI Digital Evidence Laboratory completed enhanced analysis of trail camera footage from Twin Lakes Visitor Center. Specialized facial recognition software identified the male hiker observed in multiple locations as Roger Allen Kidd, 42, of Reno, Nevada, a name that triggered immediate database flags. Special Agent Halverson reviewed Kidd's record, paroled 14 months earlier after serving 6 years for aggravated stalking and false imprisonment. Current employment listed as wilderness guide for a small outfitter based in Carson City. The file noted his extensive backcountry experience and training in wilderness survival techniques. According to Bureau of Justice statistics, only 7% of violent offenders demonstrate the environmental competence necessary to effectively use wilderness areas for predation. Those who do show significantly higher evasion rates than urban predators. By mid-morning, the evidence response team had completed processing at the first excavation site. The remains were carefully removed for transport to the medical examiner's facility in Sacramento. Wind whispered through the granite formations as the body bag was secured to a backboard, creating a soft counterpoint to the mechanical sounds of the operation. Forensic examination of the crevice yielded additional evidence: a torn section of duct tape with human hair adhered to the adhesive side. Preliminary field testing indicated multiple DNA profiles were present on the sample. At 11:32, surveillance teams established observation points at Kidd's residence in Reno and his workplace in Carson City. Nevada State Police provided tactical support as FBI agents prepared arrest documents. The ambient sound of police radio traffic formed a constant background to the operation. Meanwhile, the search for Lauren Connolly continued with renewed urgency. Her family maintained vigil at the ranger station, where Catherine Connolly provided additional details about her daughter's wilderness habits. Lauren carries a personal locator beacon on all solo hikes. She's never activated it, but she wouldn't hesitate if there was trouble. This information triggered a priority query to the SARSAT system, Search and Rescue Satellite-Aided Tracking, to check for any unidentified beacon activations in the region. The query returned negative results, suggesting either the beacon was never activated or had been disabled. At 14:45, a specialized K-9 team working the drainage basin east of the crevice location discovered a shallow depression covered with recently moved rocks and pine needles. Team leader Jessica Ramirez documented the scene. Soil disturbance approximately 180 centimeters in length, width variable between 60-70 centimeters, depth to be determined upon excavation. Ground-penetrating radar confirmed a subsurface anomaly consistent with human remains. By 1620, careful excavation had revealed a body wrapped in a tarp, secured with the same type of duct tape found in the crevice. The medical examiner on site made preliminary identification through personal effects and physical characteristics: Lauren Connolly. Radio transcript captured the moment. Command, this is Recovery Team Alpha. Confirmation on primary subject. Requesting full processing protocol. Copy that, Alpha. Secure the site. Evidence response en route. The ambient sounds shifted. The whisper of wind through pine needles, the distant call of a hawk, the collective exhale of search personnel who had maintained hope despite statistical improbability. Special Agent Halverson personally informed the Connolly family. Body camera footage, later used in court proceedings, captured Marissa's response. I knew she wouldn't just get lost. I knew someone took her from us. As evening approached, arrest teams moved into position at Roger Kidd's workplace in Carson City. Surveillance had confirmed his presence through the day, engaged in routine activities preparing equipment for guided trips. At 1837, FBI tactical teams executed the arrest without incident. Kidd offered no resistance. According to the arrest report, his only statement was, "The mountains always keep some secrets." Search of his vehicle, parked at the outfitter's lot, yielded significant evidence. Lauren Connolly's personal locator beacon, disabled and wrapped in aluminum foil, concealed beneath the spare tire. In wilderness predation cases, the recovery process reveals not just what was taken, but the methodical nature of the taking itself. Evidence log entry 2114. Subject vehicle inventory includes topographic maps marked with multiple remote locations spanning 3 states. Dawn of 25 September broke with a different quality of light, sharper, more clinical, as crime scene processing continued across multiple locations. At the burial site where Lauren Connolly had been recovered, specialized lighting arrays created harsh shadows against the granite as evidence response team members methodically documented the scene. The rustle of Tyvek suits and the beep of photographic equipment provided a constant background soundtrack. By 0830, the medical examiner had completed preliminary examination. Dr. Rebecca Winters documented her findings. Victim exhibits ligature marks on wrists and ankles, consistent with restraint. Cause of death appears to be asphyxiation, based on hyoid bone fracture and petechial hemorrhaging. Time of death estimated between 36:48 hours after last confirmed sighting. This timeline suggested Lauren Connolly had been held captive before her death, a critical detail for both the investigation and eventual prosecution. In a parallel operation, FBI evidence response teams executed search warrants at Roger Kidd's residence in Reno. The modest apartment yielded a disturbing collection: detailed topographic maps of wilderness areas across 5 states, with specific locations marked in red, a journal containing entries about perfect isolation zones, and a collection of personal items that would later be matched to 3 previously unsolved missing persons cases. According to FBI statistics, only 23% of serial offenders who utilize wilderness areas maintain comprehensive documentation of their activities. Those who do typically display obsessive organizational traits and high spatial intelligence. At 11:17, digital forensics completed analysis of Kidd's electronic devices. His GPS unit contained saved waypoints corresponding to remote locations in the Sierra Nevada range, including the exact coordinates where both sets of remains had been discovered. Special Agent Halverson coordinated with Behavioral Analysis Unit specialists to conduct the initial interview with Kidd. The interrogation room at Washoe County Detention Facility remained silent except for the soft hum of the ventilation system and the occasional shuffle of paper as evidence photographs were presented. Transcript excerpt 1422, Halverson. We've recovered Lauren's camera. We know she photographed you. Kidd. No response. Halverson. The memory card shows you in 3 locations over 5 hours. You were following her. Kidd. The wilderness isn't safe for solo hikers. I've always said that. Meanwhile, forensic examination of Lauren Connolly's remains revealed critical evidence. Soil embedded under her fingernails contained mineral composition, matching a location approximately 800 meters from where her body was recovered, suggesting she had been moved post-mortem. K-9 teams redeployed to this new area of interest, where handler Marcus Wayland noted Aspen's behavior. Immediate alert response upon approaching the granite overhang. Dog exhibited stress behaviors consistent with detection of human remains scent. The area beneath the overhang yielded no additional remains but showed clear evidence of recent human activity. Compressed soil, fire pit residue carefully concealed, and a small cache of supplies hidden in a natural rock crevice. Among the items recovered, a digital camera containing photographs of Lauren Connolly, taken without her knowledge as she hiked the trail on 14th September. The images showed deliberate surveillance, shots taken from concealed positions along her route. By late afternoon, analysis of Catherine Simmons' remains had yielded disturbing similarities to Lauren's case. The same restraint patterns, asphyxiation as cause of death, and post-mortem relocation. The Behavioral Analysis Unit provided updated assessment. Subject displays organized, predatory behavior with ritualistic elements. The wilderness environment is integral to his methodology, providing isolation, control, and disposal opportunities with minimal risk of discovery. As evening fell across the Sierra Nevada, the Connolly family received formal confirmation of Lauren's identity. Catherine Connolly later recalled in her victim impact statement, "They asked if we wanted to know the details. How do you decide whether to hear how your daughter died? What knowledge can possibly help when the emptiness is already complete?" At 20:45, investigators executed additional search warrants at the outdoor outfitter where Kidd worked. Company records revealed his guiding assignments had placed him in proximity to 4 unsolved disappearances across 3 states over the previous 2 years. The clinical precision of evidence recovery continued through the night, each item cataloged, each location documented, each connection mapped in the expanding case file. In wilderness predation cases, the environment itself becomes both weapon and accomplice, a vast space where isolation transforms from recreation to vulnerability. Case Assessment Update, 2317. Multiple confirmed victims, high probability of additional undiscovered remains in subjects' established hunting grounds. The morning of 26 September brought steady rain to the Sierra Nevada, the first precipitation since Lauren Connolly's disappearance. At the excavation sites, blue tarps stretched over evidence areas, creating islands of clinical activity in the wilderness. Water drummed against the plastic. Occasional thunder punctuated the sound of generators powering the forensic equipment. By 08 FBI evidence response teams had expanded their search to 3 additional locations, identified from Roger Kidd's GPS waypoints. Special Agent Halverson coordinated the multi-site operation from a command post established at Twin Lakes Visitor Center, the same building where Lauren had signed the trail register 12 days earlier. National databases revealed a disturbing pattern. 8 unsolved disappearances across 4 states matched the geographical and methodological profile now established in the Connolly and Simmons cases. According to FBI Violent Criminal Apprehension Program, VICAP analysis, the cases shared key indicators: solo female hikers, moderate to advanced skill levels, disappearances from areas with low surveillance coverage but accessible by day hikers. At 10:17, excavation at the 3rd waypoint site yielded human remains, later identified as Sarah Matheson, 34, reported missing during a solo photography trip in Desolation Wilderness 17 months earlier. The discovery confirmed investigators' fears. They were dealing with a serial predator who had operated undetected across a vast wilderness region. FBI evidence technician Sharon Miller documented the recovery. Remains show advanced decomposition consistent with extended environmental exposure. Subject wrapped in similar material to previous victims. Evidence of restraint visible on preserved tissue. Statistical analysis provided by the FBI's Behavioral Science Unit indicated that only 4% of serial homicide cases involve such widespread geographical dispersion while maintaining consistent methodology, a factor that had previously prevented case linkage. By mid-afternoon, digital forensics had completed analysis of photographs recovered from Kidd's camera. The images revealed a pattern extending beyond Lauren Connolly, similar surveillance photographs of at least 5 different women in wilderness settings, 3 of whom had been reported missing over the previous 2 years. Lieutenant Vasquez coordinated with neighboring jurisdictions to establish a multi-state task force. The sound of helicopter operations continued despite the rain, as teams transported evidence and personnel between investigation sites. At 15:42, investigators conducted a second interview with Roger Kidd. The interrogation room remained silent except for the soft, mechanical clicks of the recording equipment and the shuffle of photographs being arranged on the metal table. Transcript excerpt 1607, Halverson. We've recovered Sarah Matheson's remains today. Kidd. No response. Halverson. Your GPS had the exact coordinates. Kidd. People don't understand wilderness. It takes what it wants. Halverson. You took what you wanted, Roger. Kidd. Extended silence. They were all unprepared, solo hikers. I just showed them how vulnerable they were. The partial confession provided investigators with crucial confirmation of predatory intent, a key element for later prosecution. Meanwhile, the Connolly family had begun the painful process of arranging for Lauren's return home. Marissa Connolly later described in her victim impact statement, "We had to select clothing for her funeral, while investigators were still cataloging her possessions as evidence. Her hiking boots were still being processed when we chose her burial dress." By evening, forensic analysis had revealed a crucial connection. Soil samples from all three recovery sites contained microscopic fibers matching a specific type of canvas material used in the equipment bags at Kidd's workplace, physical evidence tying him directly to each location. At 1937, the San Francisco field office of the FBI issued a public statement confirming the arrest and ongoing investigation. The press release included a dedicated tip line for information related to unsolved missing person cases in wilderness areas across the western states. Within hours, the tip line had received 214 calls, including information about 2 additional cases with similar patterns that had not been previously connected. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the forensic anthropologist, completed her preliminary report on all 3 sets of recovered remains. Her assessment: victims show remarkable consistency in cause of death, restraint methodology, and disposal technique, suggesting a predator who refined his approach through multiple events. As night fell across the Sierra Nevada, the investigation had expanded far beyond the search for a single missing hiker, becoming a methodical documentation of predatory behavior hidden within wilderness spaces long considered merely dangerous due to natural hazards. In wilderness homicide investigations, the most challenging aspect is often not identifying the perpetrator, but comprehending the full extent of victimization across vast remote areas. Task Force Designation 2344, Operation Granite Shadow, Multi-Jurisdictional Serial Predation Investigation. By early October 2019, the prosecution had compiled overwhelming evidence against Roger Allen Kidd. The United States Attorney for the Eastern District of California announced charges including 3 counts of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and other related offenses. The rain-washed granite of the Sierra Nevada had yielded its secrets, 5 bodies in total, each representing a methodical predation masked by wilderness isolation. On 3 October, Mono County Superior Court hosted the arraignment. The courtroom sounds, papers shuffling, chairs scraping, hushed voices, created a sterile counterpoint to the wilderness spaces where the crimes had occurred. The Connolly family sat in the front row, their faces composed into the careful neutrality of those navigating public trauma. The criminal complaint detailed how Kidd had used his wilderness expertise to identify and target solo female hikers. His methodology revealed through forensic reconstruction, initial surveillance, approach under guise of fellow hiker or guide, abduction to pre-selected remote locations, and eventual disposal in areas unlikely to be searched. According to the FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit's final assessment, Kidd represented an unusual category of predator, one who weaponized wilderness itself, using isolation not just for concealment, but as an active component of his predatory behavior. On 17th November, facing overwhelming physical evidence, Kidd accepted a plea agreement to avoid the death penalty. His statement to the court, recorded in the transcript, "The mountains showed me places where no one looks, empty spaces where I could be what I really am." The clinical language of the plea document contrasted sharply with victim impact statements delivered during sentencing. Marissa Connolly addressed both the court and the defendant directly. "Lauren loved the wilderness for its beauty and silence. You turned that silence into a weapon against her. You didn't just take her life, you corrupted the spaces she found most sacred." The court imposed 5 consecutive life sentences without possibility of parole. In January 2020, the Connolly family established the Lauren Connolly Wilderness Safety Foundation, developing education programs specifically addressing the hidden dangers of human predation in wilderness areas. Their initiative led to enhanced trailhead monitoring systems and improved cell reception at key wilderness access points across the Sierra Nevada range. National Park Service statistics recorded a 27% increase in wilderness safety awareness program participation following the case, evidence of how a single documented predation pattern changed public perception of outdoor risk assessment. By the following summer, trail cameras at Twin Lakes Trailhead had been upgraded to include AI-enhanced monitoring. The same visitor center where Lauren had signed her name now displayed a small memorial plaque. "The wilderness holds both beauty and darkness. Travel aware." The investigation's final report, completed in March 2020, identified 2 additional suspected victims whose remains were never recovered. Special Agent Halverson noted in his closing assessment, "The environmental factors that make wilderness valuable for recreation also create perfect conditions for predation. This case fundamentally changes how we understand and investigate disappearances in remote areas." For the investigators who documented each piece of evidence, the GPS coordinates, the soil samples, the surveillance photographs, the case represented not just the capture of a predator, but a methodological shift in how wilderness disappearances are categorized and investigated. Lieutenant Vasquez, who had coordinated the initial search operations, later developed specialized training protocols for search and rescue teams nationwide, teaching them to recognize the subtle differences between accidental disappearances and potential predation scenarios. The trail register at Twin Lakes remains in use, each signature still a promise of return. But now, unseen behind the counter, advanced monitoring systems track departures and returns with algorithmic precision, silently measuring the duration between signature and safety. In wilderness spaces, the distance between adventure and vulnerability is measured not in miles, but in awareness. In September 2024, 5 years after Lauren Connolly signed the trail register at Twin Lakes, Marissa Connolly returned to the same visitor center. The morning light reflected off the polished counter just as it had when her sister stood there. The air held that same high-altitude chill that makes everything feel certain. She signed the trail register with deliberate care, her handwriting slightly tilted, a mirror of Lauren's final signature. The ranger recognized her immediately, but maintained professional distance, understanding the weight of the ritual. The Lauren Connolly Wilderness Safety Act had been signed into law 6 months earlier, mandating enhanced monitoring systems at wilderness access points nationwide. The bill's passage represented both a family's persistence and a system's acknowledgement of failure. Outside wind chimes clicked against glass as Marissa stepped into full sun, adjusting the shoulder strap of her pack. Her hiking group waited nearby. The foundation now advocated against solo wilderness travel. At her hip, a personal locator beacon with enhanced capabilities. In her pack, a satellite communicator programmed to send automatic position updates every 30 minutes. The wilderness remained vast and beautiful and dangerous, not just from natural hazards, but from the predators who understood how isolation creates vulnerability. The trail register remained open. The wilderness never changed, only what people brought to it and what they carried away.